So there's like a really small percentile of actual producing agents. Everyone else is just like doing whatever they can to get a deal done. And sometimes they mislead, sometimes they lie. And that's all it takes to make realtors look even worse than what they are now. But I have a question for you. For as long as I've known you, you've controlled everything in your business. You did the appointment booking, you did the client care, you did the work, you did the editing, you did everything. At what point was your mind or your heart allowing you to delegate that control? Back then, it was like, I didn't know what to do. So I asked for help and I got a lot of it. I can't think of a single person who I asked for help who wasn't able to help me. I just didn't ask that many, but it was enough for me. So for me, at a personal level, that's kind of how I rebounded from last year. Professionally, it was completely different because we did have a hard year professionally last year. And a lot of veteran agents struggled. Some of the newer agents, they actually succeeded even more.
Yeah.
Right? Because they were willing to adapt to the changes. What was working over the past decade didn't work in last year's market.
When I'm speaking to clients about us providing them social media content, one of the things I say is it's a long game. You have to be in it for the long game, and you can't expect to see, you can't expect to see immediate returns.
No.
And it's actually impossible to predict what returns you are going to get, period. And so, if you are comfortable with that and you want to seriously build a brand that is going to, at some point, really make your business thrive, then go all in. But you have to be in it for the long game.
Last year, one of my posts went viral. And
Right.
the reason why it went viral is because I chose an opinion to share.
Right.
And it was a very aggressive opinion. And the ones who disagreed with it trashed me.
Right.
And I liked it because for me now it's entertaining. It doesn't bring me down. After a couple negative comments, you just get used to it.
Yeah.
And I'm reading this and I'm actually analyzing oh, that's how they feel. So more consumers must feel this way. Okay, I can fix that.
Right.
I can fix that. I didn't even think of it as fully getting trashed, but the creativity on these, John,
Right.
was just hilarious. They were just bashing you for the sake of bashing you. It was so entertaining. So I figured
Right.
I'll make a video out of it. They were just bashing you.
Moaeez Rehman, how are you doing, man?
Fantastic.
Good.
The best.
Thank you very much for joining me. We've discussed many times getting together for a podcast, and now it's happening.
Finally. I think it's been a year or longer since we've been
Probably
talking
more.
about it, and we've had a bucket list of ideas. We should do this. No, we shouldn't do this. Maybe we should try that. And now we're actually doing it. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. And this has been just a very organic process for me since I started to speak to people and just trying to figure out how much should I plan it out? Should I have an outline, a structure, kind of questions to kind of guide us, topics to point to hit and stuff like that. What I've actually come to is it's better to just have a free-flowing organic conversation. So, I'm curious to find out a little bit more from you about what's been going on especially in the last year or year and a bit. How long have you been at your current brokerage?
Current brokerage, 2.5 years.
2.5
Selling
years.
real estate just under a decade now.
Right.
And I feel so old as I say that because it feels like just yesterday I got my license. And the biggest hurdle that I had was to prove my worth because I was young, had to work harder to prove it.
Right.
And now I don't kind of need to because my age is there. So I
Right.
feel old now. Kids call me uncle now. And that is a solid reminder of me getting old. So this year I'll turn 30. And as I'm talking to you, I feel back pain. So I think I'm already ready to go into my 30s.
So what's the threshold then? If being too young is a challenge, and then now you're kind of getting a little bit irritated and feeling like that you're getting old, where was the peak?
Where was the peak? Probably the late 20s.
Right.
I think the late 20s was good for me because by then I had 5 years of experience. More specifically, I had 5 years worth of accolades. So after a while, I just naturally found that my age was not an objection,
Right.
which originally was the primary objection, right? And I had to do everything I could to mask my age when I was young. So I started wearing suits much earlier. I started leasing more expensive cars. That made zero financial sense. But in the image of the consumer, it did. They
Right.
valued those things. They would judge you on first appearance, and that would work in my favor then. From 26 to 30, I think it was just straight energy.
Right.
Right? Nothing could stop you. I think going into my 30s now, a bit of it has caught up to me. I've learned a lot about what I want to continue for the next decade in the business and what just doesn't mean as much to me anymore. There's a lot more clarity going into the 30s.
So tell me more about that then. What does that look like, this next phase of your life and your career?
Yikes. Okay. We're diving right into it, I
Oh,
guess,
yeah.
right? I don't value accolades anymore. I don't value awards anymore. And I don't value the opinion of another agent anymore. I think the surroundings that I was in, these things mattered. You were treated differently because of those aspects. And now I'm finding agents who produce, and I don't mean a lot. Like I'm not talking about heavy hitters, just anyone who's 100% involved in the real estate game, they could care less about any other agent. So I think just letting go of that has given me a lot of mental freedom to be myself. And I found that since I've become a little bit more of myself rather than just a professional, I guess, emoji that I'm playing or an avatar that I'm playing, I've also related to my clients at a much deeper level. And I see a big change that they now do want to work with me, not only because I'm professionally capable, but they just love being around me.
Right.
And that to me means way more than an award coming from the brokerage, one that I would have to pay for. It doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't really help you in any aspect. And I also don't care to sell 100, 200, 300 homes because now I understand the amount of personal sacrifice it takes to get there. Right. Before that was just the goal. There should be no personal life. You should be 100% dove into work. Unfortunately, that's not something I believe in anymore.
Right.
And I think consumers also don't really expect that from you, which was a big misconception. We were told that you have to be all in all the time,
And
7 days a week.
Show your client that you're available 24/7 and it's grind.
You don't need to. They really don't care. And the biggest catch was they could care less if you were working outside of normal hours. And if they don't care for it, then why was I doing that? Why wasn't I taking more time for myself?
So where do you, when you spoke about, you can be real now, right? And I forget the words that you used, but it almost sounded like until this new kind of change, you kind of felt like you had to put on some kind of, that's it. You called it like an avatar or like an emoji or whatever.
Yeah.
What was the reason that you felt that you had to play a role that was not authentically you?
Imposter syndrome for one, for sure. In the beginning, it's also because you yourself are not confident that you are the person to get the job done. So to an extent, you're playing that avatar for yourself.
Right.
To convince yourself. And that kind of goes into the clients. And because I was so invested in it, the first reality check I had was when my best friends from high school would tell me, dude, why are you selling me? Why are you being a realtor with me? We just want regular Moaeez, which pretty much is just a hyper version of me, a lot more outgoing version of me. Right? Doesn't take things too seriously. So when that conversation happened, and then I also began to realize that people on Instagram were messaging me for info and they wouldn't allow me to represent them because they felt intimidated by the avatar I had myself created.
Oh, right.
I never thought about that.
Right.
Because I created the avatar
so like
to represent
you weren't
them.
relatable. You were kind of you were on a different wavelength, or like not somebody that they not somebody that's like them.
Pretty much summarized.
When actually you probably were just like them.
Absolutely.
Wow.
But I did that myself. And the thing is, no one would have given me a heads up because it was all self-imposed. So these little signs happen that help me realize that, okay, in the beginning, I might have had to do this, but I'm not 21 anymore selling real estate.
Right.
I've done more than 100 deals now. I've represented more than 100 families now. I'm good. The numbers speak for themselves. I can be more of myself. And I think since then, I've enjoyed the business a lot more too.
Right.
When you are genuine to yourself, you automatically filter out consumers that don't want to work with you because they can't relate to you.
Yeah.
So majority of the business that I get now are families just like me.
Right.
And it's pretty much like working with friends. Like I have zero complaints about the business. Every day is just like working with friends.
Right. That's so cool, actually, because from a marketing and branding point of view, like I'm always telling clients that you need to be sharing, putting yourself out there in a way that is true to you for a whole variety of different reasons. But one of them is that if you can identify what you stand for, right? That is going to connect you with people who are a good fit for you, and it's going to filter out people who might not be the best client for you and might be better off with another agent who has a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that you kind of had this thing that you had to do in the first place to build that sense of confidence or credibility or whatever, but then it probably backfired. You probably got clients that were the ideal client for the fake Moise.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you can't blame them. I created
Right.
that image, right?
Yeah.
But through all of this, you learn a few things. But to the most important is there's enough business for everyone. People will work with you for whichever reason is true to you, which you might think is flaws. I have friends who are uncomfortable coming on camera. You've worked with them. Or they feel like they don't have the right sense of dressing. But it's just in their head. Consumers still want to work with them because of who they are.
And they're probably not paying any attention to what they're wearing.
No, it comes down to straight value, right? If you're scared of coming on camera, it doesn't matter. It's about the message you share. You're scared of selling real estate. You feel like there's something holding you back. It just comes down to the knowledge you have and how much you can help the family.
Right. I'm really, really excited for you, man, that you have this energy and this enthusiasm, because I remember us speaking about maybe a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, where you were kind of feeling like you wanted to go down more into the marketing route and still be in real estate, but it seemed like you weren't really kind of feeling super passionate or super motivated for the real estate part. But that's totally changed, man.
To an extent, yeah. To an extent. I still very much love marketing. And I think I love marketing because it's an avenue where I feel like I can make an impact.
Right.
And sooner or later, you stop chasing deals. It just doesn't keep you motivated. What motivates me is that the family that I'm representing now, I have enough knowledge, energy, and communication skills to make an impact in their purchase,
Right.
which for them is way more emotional than it is financially taxing. So the fact that I can make that for them is what drives me. And I felt very similar layers of satisfaction in marketing. So now that I'm going into the next decade of my life, if I live that long, of course, I want to do more things in addition to real estate transacting in which I feel like I'm making an impact.
Right.
And there's a couple different avenues that I have going, but I'm being more thoughtful about it. I'm becoming ambassadors for nonprofit organizations to spread the message because I believe in it. And I don't just want to talk about real estate anymore. All that's already very much accessible online, right? I want to use the voice that I have now and the platform that I have to relate at a more personal level because nobody else is doing it, right? And some will hate me for it. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking to that 1% that it's relatable to. That's what I'm aiming for.
And who is that 1%? Like, what are the clients that you are now finding you are attracting who are a good fit? Like, who are they?
Mainly folks my age.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say the folks that feel most comfortable reaching out to me are probably in the age demographic of 25 to 35 who are just getting into their first home and they have thousands of questions. And they also don't know what they don't know. So there are hurdles that happen and every deal is natural. I'm very confident that no matter what the hurdle, I know how to handle it. And I know how to communicate that to my clients because I've gone through it, right? So those are probably my ideal client avatars because I think the first one's the hardest. The first house is the hardest. The first condo is the hardest. From there, you're a lot more comfortable. So that first experience has to be the best, right? And the reason why agents are hated so much is because they fail to give a good first experience to that family. And for the rest of their life, realtors just suck. And now every realtor falls under that demographic.
Right.
Right. And I feel like every time I talk to a new family, especially from social media, there's this wall that they have.
They're suspicious or like apprehensive just from the outset.
Yeah. And I get things in feedback, I get told things such as, it feels like you're too salesy. You're just here for the money. You're dressed this way. You drive a car. You talk this way. Our guard is up. And you have to get through that to help them realize you're just really there for them. And it's not the money that you're there for. It's kind of like dating. Like if this is our first date, there's a wall there and you have to break through it.
You have to kind of prove yourself and build that trust.
But you have to do it once.
Yeah.
And it's one family at a time where you do make an impact.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm finding a lot of that. And naturally, I can see why. Dude, there's 80,000 plus agents. And last year we had 70,000 transactions.
I think there's 100,000 agents now. I'm pretty sure I heard that stat like very recently, 100,000.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And only 70,000 transactions. right? And only 92% of those 100% realtors do more than 3 deals.
Right.
So there's like a really small percentile of actual producing agents. Everyone else is just like doing whatever they can to get a deal done. And sometimes they mislead, sometimes they lie. And that's all it takes to make realtors look even worse than what they are now.
Right. So you had your start in real estate 10 years ago. You had to kind of overcome that, the imposter syndrome, the effects of your boyish good looks, and then you kind of grew from there. Right now, you seem like you are so in your element and you are feeling good about yourself, good about life. This is fantastic. I want to find out more about the middle, right? Because presumably for you to come to that realization about this avatar, principle that you spoke about, and to actually, change your mindset, maybe kind of make changes to some of the actual things that you were doing, like some of the ways that you were actually, communicating with clients, putting yourself out there. I don't know, maybe changes in your life. Like what happened in the middle?
A lot of figuring this out and a lot of fucking bullshit. I can swear on this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So a lot of bullshit. But I think it was just learning curves, right? During the time, you're not able to look from a bird's eye view to see what is happening, why it's happening.
Right.
It's just you're going through the motions and you're adulting as you go. And I think a lot of the experiences that I got in my early to mid 20s, a lot of people usually get in their 30s, maybe 40s, depending on what time they got into business.
Right.
So I got into the business early, but I came very vanilla. I had no knowledge about not only the real estate game, but taxes, finances, relationships. How do you balance it? Where do you draw a personal line?
How old were you when you became a realtor?
21 or 22.
Right, okay.
And I'm turning 30 now. So yeah. And I think it's just a lot of failures, which eventually then help you to kind of figure out, what's for you, what's not. And I think for a solid chunk there, I was numb because nothing would work. And you just begin to think that this is probably how the business is. And then you get a hint of happiness and you're like, okay, where did that come from? What's changing, right? And I think the most personal troubles I've had in my whole life was last year. Last year was the most challenging year for me in terms of personal relationships, in terms of finances, which sucked at the time, but it also is probably my biggest learning lessons going into my 30s. And now I'm a lot more aware of what to do, what not to do. I'm an emotional guy. I think emotions first. Black and white doesn't work for me. So unfortunately, I have to learn my biggest lessons through pain. And I'm aware of that. So when it happens, I'm not too hurt by it. You just kind of learn to cope with it. So that little gap in between was just a bunch of bullshit. And now we're slowly overcoming it.
So what were the biggest things that caused you pain, and what were the ways that you learned from them?
Great question. If I break it down in just sequence, I got divorced last year. So the biggest learning curve that I had was how to deal with a relationship falling apart. Before that, I hadn't had a breakup, I hadn't dated. So that to me was something new. Right? In itself, in a way, it's beautiful, but it was kind of what it was. And it came at a time where finances just weren't working for me, but that was my fault. I made some investments with the emotional intention for people around me. And while things were good, everyone was in. But the market took a shift. Anyone who bought pre-construction over the past 2 to 3 years, they know very well that if the unit completed this year or the past year, the valuation just wasn't there.
Right.
And the rates were higher. So even if you were able to close, you had a hard time maintaining the property. Right. And between you and I, for 1 month at night, I just drove Uber. Just nothing else was making sense to me in terms of what I can do. But you had to make ends meet. And all of that just took off the high that I might have had the years before, but it got me grounded, right? And I think I'm coming out much stronger in terms of regulating my emotions, realizing what's important to me and what's not important to me. And I'm finally learning to say no. I have never said no to anybody in my life. But now I'm realizing that if this source is only going to drain me, it's taking away from the energy that I'm giving to my clients, this podcast, or anything that I'm doing charitably. And I just can't do that. So that's probably the biggest lesson that I've gotten through that is no. And then also to learn that if something's going wrong mentally, if I feel weak, how to deal with that. Like before, if that would happen, my day was a write-off. I couldn't function, anxiety central. And now I'm learning this is part of life. I can handle professional struggles because I've gone through that from a young age, right? It doesn't take a toll on me if I lose a deal, if a client tells me to fuck off, if I'm knocking a door and a lady says you suck, that doesn't bother me. But learning how to deal with personal stuff, in addition to that, that was the biggest challenge to me, which I'm still kind of figuring out, but that's a lifelong journey. But I'm much further than where I was last year.
I love what you said there about how when you don't say no to anything, when you just say yes to everything, then inadvertently you are saying no to stuff. Like if you say yes to one thing, it means that you say no to other things, right? Sure. It means that the time that you are spending is going there instead of there and there.
Yeah.
Right. What were some of the things that you wish you'd said no to over, that kind of period of time going back a few years?
That's so hard for me to say confidently because I felt, and I still do, that all the opportunities required a yes. I just didn't have that much time or energy to give, right? The one thing that's probably lacked the most since I've been in the real estate business is friendships. The only relationship I was able to keep was my parents, my siblings, and then at that time getting married. Managing that with the real estate business and the emotional task that comes with it, I wasn't able to be there for my friends. Some of them understood it. They were part of the journey, and they're still my friends today. Some of them didn't. They felt as if I myself am too good for them. That was what they imposed on me, which naturally wasn't true. I just couldn't figure it out how to do all of that. Right. And to this day, it blows my mind how people have kids and are able to be amazing parents, amazing partners, and amazing at their profession because it is so hard.
Yeah, and there's people that I know who are amazing at all of those things, and they are also into some kind of philanthropy, and they also play a sport.
Yeah,
and I just look and I think like, how the hell do you even
It's inspiring.
Coordinate all of that, let alone have the time for it? It is inspiring.
It's inspiring, but no one talks about it.
Yeah,
everyone's talking about the shiny stuff, but no one's trying to talk about the hard work. And it is really just hard work. And the families that are going through this right now, I can't even imagine the emotional pressure that they feel to get to that level because I felt it and I'm feeling it now. I think it's not true just to real estate, it's to anyone who starts a business. You wear multiple hats throughout the day. You don't have any control over your day. Some days you're just putting out fire. Right? Like today, the only thing I wanted to do was keep my mindset right, stay primed for this podcast. So I bring my best version. I've had nothing but deals go south this morning, but I kind of like that shit too. Fixing deals, helping people, making an impact. I thrive off of that.
So where does that come from? The kind of desire and that ability to thrive in challenging situations, in high pressure situations, when there's stuff going wrong?
Sure. Originally, it came from because something going wrong is a window of opportunity for me to change my client experience for that family.
Where did that come from? Is that something you've had since your youth, or is it
massive people pleaser? Right. Massive. And I think that probably goes back to the upbringing, just trying to get the validation from your loved ones around you, and then kind of segueing into real estate. I've always worked in sales, so my whole mission was consumer experience. Otherwise, I'm not getting paid. And now I'm in a commission-only business, so it kind of just took that even forward. But now it's kind of addicting in the sense where I know I can handle that problem better than anybody. So here I go and make an impact. So inadvertently, I kind of started enjoying it, which was a burden before, but now I look forward to things going wrong because in real estate, a lot of things happen out of your control. The issues that we're fixing are not imposed by us. They're by the other agent or the other party or the other lawyer. It just affects my clients. But now it's my job to fix it. So I don't know. There's a sense of thrill to it. I don't know where that came from.
And so these things that are beyond your control that are going to come up when they come up, and you can kind of prepare for certain things, but you like the rush of, seeing that there is something that needs attention, and then you're rushing in there to kind of save the deal or put out the fire or whatever.
I do.
Yeah.
Call me crazy. I feel crazy as I'm talking to you about it. As you're saying it out loud, I realize that is crazy, but in my mind, it feels normal.
So I don't think it is crazy. I think it's a certain, it's a certain mode of approaching things, and I'm kind of the same. Like I actually, I don't do it anymore. I don't think. Maybe I do. I think one of the things that I used to do is to kind of ignore it when a problem was starting to happen.
Sure.
And whether it was conscious or not, the outcome was that I was then able to go in and save the day and be the hero. And I never forget one of my early mentors, who was the manager at the first photography studio that I worked at, and it was this older guy. He was like, he'd been in a corporate job his whole life, working for Kodak, and he told me that he was a regional manager for Kodak in the UK, and there were like 5 other regional managers. There was some of the others who were always the center of attention because they were like going here and saving this thing and putting out this fire, and like, oh my God, there's like this thing is happening, it's crazy, and it's going to totally like blow up. Oh no, this person saved it, right? Yeah. And what he told me was that he said, I don't like that drama. I don't like to have to go in and put out fires. So I have done every single thing I possibly could to make sure the fire doesn't start in the first place, right? So when I see my division running really smoothly and achieving all of its goals and all the rest of it, but those guys are getting all of the praise, like, whoa, did you see like the way he fixed that problem?
Yeah.
He's like, it kind of hurts a little bit.
I hear that.
And I get that, and I think that I like drama and excitement, so I think it's a challenge for me to not just allow things to unfold in a way that I have to go in and be the hero.
That's right? That's talent. And you and I have had multiple transactions that we've done together, collaborations that we've done together, where our vision for the media work that was done for that listing or for that occasion was perfect, right? We always collaborate on it. We're in tune now. But for the consumer, it wasn't what they had in mind. Even though what we did, we felt was correct, it was the right professional approach, to them it was wrong. But you never shied away from that. You're like, Moise, I got this. I'll call them directly. I'll explain to them why we did, the way we did, the technicalities of it. If they're still not happy, I'll go back and I'll do it again.
Right.
No other vendor has ever offered that in the real estate game. Usually I have to handle that problem. You handle that problem.
Right.
Right. And so in a way, you and I are very similar for this. We kind of do like that drama.
Yeah.
It's just an opportunity to thrive and to show them.
Yeah. And I guess like having the accountability and the integrity to actually go and take care of whatever needs to be taken care of, that, I guess it leads to a dramatic, wave of some things unfolding, but I guess it's all part of the fun. It's all part of the excitement.
You feel like a star in your own world. It's like, let me take a bow. I fixed that problem. You don't have to clap for me. I'll pat myself on the back. One
of the things that I've found through growing my team is that I have to be very, very, conscious to be more thoughtful, be more aware of things, so that I don't end up putting it on somebody who is in my team to have to go and fight a fire. So I think that's been a big growth area for me, actually, because I'm now just reflecting, like, I don't actually really do that anymore. And I was trying to figure out why. And I think it is because I thrive in, like, kind of chaotic and spontaneous and, kind of uncertain environments. If anything, that's where I am most at home. But when you are, kind of relying on other people to work with you on certain things, you can't put that on them as well.
Yeah, it's true. I think there's so first of all, you're crazy because you do function at an extremely high level. I've had you send me voice notes with really in tune thoughts in the morning, like at 12:30 a.m. Like, bro, it's bedtime. Come on, turn it off, right? But I think when you're going at that level, it takes some time, but you have to recognize you're at a certain level. That's because of your goals and your ambitions. It's your vision. You want everyone around you to have it, but it's just not like that. Their visions are different. And that's, I guess, where you had to make that effort that, This is how I feel. This is for me. My team may not be the same way, so I can't burden them with that. But I have a question for you. For as long as I've known you, you've controlled everything in your business. You did the appointment booking, you did the client care, you did the work, you did the editing, you did everything. At what point was your mind or your heart allowing you to delegate that control?
So that's a good question, and I've done it on a continual basis. But the way that I've had to do it is just very, very, very slowly, because it was never really an intention of mine to be a control freak, basically.
Sure.
But that's just how I guess that's just what happened. But I guess so. Being very, very patient with growing the business and making sure that I was able to develop the team in the way that they could then take over those responsibilities. That's one part of the way I've been able to do that. But another thing is actually a bit of a shift in mindset, which it's kind of a humbling thing that I've had to force upon myself, and it is to accept that I am not the best, right? And if I think that for all of those various different things that have to be done to make a business operate, for me to think that I am the best person to do each and every single one of them, and nobody that I could hire could do any of those things as good as me, that's freaking arrogant, man. Like, how could I possibly think that highly of myself?
Sure.
So, but that was never a conscious thing. It was just a kind of it was a fear of, somebody coming in and not doing it in the same way that I would, and not kind of having the same insight. But what I found once I let that go and I started to bring more people into it and, kind of delegate and let go, is that a lot of the time people are doing it better than I could have done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm learning that just now too. I've attempted to start a team in the past, and it wasn't for me because of that. It wasn't the arrogance. It was the commitment that I am going to be always all in for my clients. I'm never going to let my emotions rule over a transaction. I've gone through a lot to do that. So I want to help every aspect of the deal for multiple deals. And eventually it was just taking a toll because every single deal is at a different emotional point of that transaction. So you're just getting pushed all over the place. Naturally, gradually, I got a little too busy where I had to bring teammates together with me, colleagues that I work with, and they did a better job than I did. And I got that feedback from the consumers directly.
Right.
Like, Mo, we loved you, but that guy or gal, we had a great time with
Well,
her.
we love you, but please send that guy. Don't come here yourself again.
In a way, yeah, please fuck off and send me that person instead. And I'm not offended. I was actually very happy. And the first call I made to those colleagues was, dude, I have never felt at ease. Thank you for treating my clients as if they were yours, if not better, because this works. And then naturally, I do the same. Now, when my colleague's on holiday and I'm helping his clients, they do the same. They message him and they say, dude, we love Mo. If you want to stay at holiday longer, no problem. But I love that feedback.
Right.
Right? So I'm still figuring it out. But, dude, easier said than done.
Yeah. So what are your plans for this next period of your career, right? You said that you're potentially going to be looking to build a team again at some point. What are your plans?
Sure. If it happens naturally, sure. I'm a big believer that if you're going to build a team, you better be ready to provide as a team leader. And every single person who comes on your team requires a different layer of expertise and help. They tell you to build a team, and this is broken logic today. It used to work in the previous decades because the team leader makes more money that way. It's like an umbrella. Moise is here, his team is here. Whatever they earn is paid out to Moise.
Yeah.
And then Moise gets all the branding, right? So on my colleagues' listings, my sign goes, my face goes, right? I don't believe in that. Okay. So I'm very aware of how involved you have to be a good team leader. And I know that will take away from my clients. And I don't want to do that at this time. I think if the team naturally goes because I have an influx of clients and I can't entertain everyone correctly, then I'll bring some colleagues in and it might naturally form a team. But I'm not going to do the traditional team because I don't believe in it. You have to give value, whether it's mentorship, whether it's leads, whether you're always readily available. There's so many different things. And a lot of team leaders don't do that. So I don't believe in it.
Right. I guess like just the same as with any other decision in business or in life, you got to make sure that you don't get railroaded into doing things, into taking a particular route just because that's kind of how it's done. That's what people say. You should build a team. You've got this many transactions. You should build a team. Yeah. Well, if that's something that gets you excited and if you kind of feel inspired and you've got a clarity about how to do that, then great. But if you feel that you still want to be doing the client communication, all of those different things, then why would you build a team if you're happy doing that yourself?
Yeah, 100%. You can mentor one-on-one. You don't have to bring any person you help under your team umbrella. That was one of the many reasons why I shifted from my old brokerage to my new brokerage.
So tell me more about that.
Sure.
That in your new brokerage, how does that work?
So the brokerage that I'm with is called Real Broker. It's a cloud-based brokerage, very similar to EXP and a few other brokerages that are slowly making their way through. And their whole idea and goal is to disrupt the broken models of the previous decades that have been dominating the real estate industry because those brokers and those brokerages have not adapted to the change, right? So not only do I retain more of my compensation now, I get trained from agents who are actively producing in today's market. So the training that I receive is tried and tested for today's market, which I wasn't getting in the previous brokerage. And as someone who in the future may want to grow a team, I don't have to physically train my agents anymore because the brokerage is doing that for me. So there's a solid sense of value. There's equity ownership. It feels like it's your own brokerage, right? But the biggest thing is they're not stopping in innovation. AI has been the hottest topic for the past 2 years. 95% of the brokerages haven't done shit with it, right? Agents are meant to learn it on its own. It shouldn't be that way. A lot of these cloud-based brokerages, they have already implemented AI. They've made the investment. A lot of our follow-up, content planning, content editing is done through AI through our brokerage now. Right now, I'm a little bit geeky about it. So I was doing it before it came to the brokerage level, but not everyone is going to be that geeky about AI as me. So my colleagues are finding so much more value too. So I think really what it is they're trying to make a change, which was overdue. Obviously, the other brokerages despise them for it. They likely despise me for making that change, but I think it was for the better. It was the constant innovation that we try to do as personal individuals, our brokerage too was doing. And that was kind of necessary rather than kind of sitting back and saying, we've built the empire, we're going to be fine, no one's going to take it from us. So they're kind of challenging status quo.
Yeah, I was speaking to somebody who is in EXP brokerage, and one of the things that they were saying is that the traditional brokerage model is going to be beneficial to you at a different level depending on what type of business you have, right? So if you are a solo agent and you rely a lot on the admin and what if they're providing marketing and training and stuff like that, then maybe you are going to get a lot of value from that. But if you are building a team and then you've got like admins in your team and you've got a marketing department and stuff like that, there's a lot that the brokerage used to have to offer that now is not really relevant. And so therefore, there's a certain point where it makes more sense to go to one of those cloud-based brokerages like EXP because you're doing most of the work within your team anyway.
If not all of it.
Right.
I'm going to double down on that. A lot of the brokerages for single agents, the first example you shared, a lot of the brokerages have a monthly fee, whether it's $250, $350, $450, brokerages vary, right? And that's like a head office fee. You have to pay it to be with their brand. But that's it. A lot of the brokerages don't offer admin or they don't offer social media marketing, right? And now you're spending that monthly fee and you have to find out your marketing, right? And a lot of the veteran agents, the most tedious task for them is to do their own marketing. They need help, which makes sense. At least they're aware enough to ask for it. But then my thought process is if you're paying that brokerage $400 a month, half of that could go to an assistant. VA, even better, they will do your documentation for you, your admin support for you, and they'll do your marketing for you, and they'll do a much greater job than what the brokerage might be doing, because for them it's standard. But when you're a team and you're producing $1 million plus, let's say, in most of the older brokerages, your earnings aren't capped. So at every deal up to $1 million and further, you have to pay a check to the brokerage, which was a normal way of going about it. But a lot of the new brokerages have capped it. After a certain number of deals, if you do more deals, that's your money.
Oh, okay.
Right? And that's just more money, not only for your own luxuries as a realtor, but it's for your team growth, for your own marketing expenditure, so many more things. So the first thing I did is when I left my previous brokerage and I came to Real Broker, the money that I was saving every single month went into retargeting ads. And it resulted in more business. To me, it was the same expense. I just utilized it in a better direction.
Right. So you're happy with your current brokerage then, put it that way?
I'm happy. I have no complaints. I also don't need much from my brokerage because I am very self-sufficient. I like working on my own. I like how I work. But the people that I'm surrounded with is the same mindset. That goes a long way. And when I was in my grounds, in my dumps last year, it was my colleagues that reminded me, bro, you used to be a fucking badass, right? You used to give us energy to work harder. I had lost it. Right? Naturally so, I was going through something very emotionally taxing. First time going through it. So with the help of my colleagues, I started to get my confidence back. And with the confidence, I'm slowly getting back in the business. But without the confidence, you don't want to make calls. You don't want to do open houses. You don't want to do showings. And if you do, you bring the Debbie Downer energy with you. And it's natural. I couldn't control it. But the surrounding helped a lot.
How long did that go on for then when you were kind of feeling... like you were at that low point?
Sure. I would say 4 to 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The earlier months, I didn't want to get out of bed. And to be honest, I didn't get out of bed. I allowed myself that break because I can't remember how many times I took time off before that, right? I've worked most of my weekends. I've practically worked every single evening. And if I wasn't fully working, I was half working. So if I'm at a family dinner, laptop's with me. Offer comes in, you must negotiate.
So it's almost like you banked all of your vacation and weekend time and you took it all in a 4 to 6 month chunk.
And what did I do? Just spend it in the bed, wrapped in 2 blankets, watch a lot of Netflix.
Yeah.
But then eventually you start feeling shitty for yourself and you make this cautious decision that whatever my circumstances were, I no longer give them power to take over my life. But I had to go through the mud to get to that. And then it's just like a daily effort. And I would say it's been about 3 months now where I haven't felt that way. But it was progressive. I started working a couple more hours in a day. I started doing more videos because I enjoy them. I started doing a lot more auditioning for modeling just simply because I enjoyed it. It doesn't pay me, but I enjoy it. It's passionate work. And then slowly and steadily I found myself and now I feel so much better. And now I doubt I'll ever put myself in a position to lose that peace and that focus.
So when you did lose that, and you were in bed watching Netflix, did you feel at that time that you were just kind of like waiting it out until you got your mojo back and that you were just kind of taking a break after all of these things that had happened in your career and then obviously in your life with your marriage? Were you kind of like hanging out, waiting to get better, or was it a bit darker than that?
So much darker than that.
Right.
Your brain can't fathom anything further than how shitty you feel at that time, right? All you want to do is just get the heartache to stop. You just want to feel better about yourself. So you naturally have to go through the process, at least I did with the personality type that I had, to see light at the end of the tunnel.
And what is the process?
Hurt. Try, fail, hurt more. And you begin to feel like every day is just going to be painful. And to me, that was very new because to me, every day is a joy. I'm very big on living life. Enjoy life as if today is your last day. So even today, as I'm talking to you, if tomorrow I'm not alive, I have lived today. I'm content with the decisions that I made today, the conversations that I had today. But when you're going through that recovery period, it's like, dude, it's not going to get better. This is the rest of my life. Everything's messed up now. And then one day it's like, oh, a little glimpse of hope. Oh, okay, I can bank off of that.
So what were some of those little glimpses of hope then that kind of got
Investing
you?
time into family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's crazy how when one relationship takes all your energy, you can't give it anymore. It goes into other avenues. So I then found out how much I enjoyed being an uncle. I realized that I could be a really good brother to my sisters and to my brother. I could be a better son for my parents, right? I could be a much better best friend for my friends who I have neglected over the past 10 years, not intentionally, but it was just a natural way of emotions.
Right.
And that actually helped me a lot. I think if it wasn't for that, I'd probably need a lot more time to recover.
Right. I think this past year has been a really tough go for a lot of realtors, and you know, not necessarily, but it might be that newer realtors who are not that well established have really struggled because, you know, they didn't already have you know, a thriving business.
Yeah.
And with the market, you know, as it was in 2024, I expect that there's quite a lot of people who maybe feel like they haven't lived up to their ambitions through no fault of their own, just circumstances.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of I'm really curious to know what it was like, that experience for you, and what it was that allowed you to climb out of that pit that you were in.
Sure.
You talk about, like, you know, reconnecting and spending quality time with family, and was that something that just came about naturally, or was that your family initiating that? You know, as a way of reaching out to you, or is there something that happened that made you realize that that's what you wanted to do?
You have to reach out, which is the hardest thing to do. I feel like I've never really asked for help. I've always felt guilty asking for help. I don't know where that comes from. I'm sure it has to do something with my childhood, but I've never really dove into it. To me, it's just kind of been is what it is. And that was hard. So if anyone's watching this and they feel like they might be in a similar stage to what I am describing I was last year, asking for help was the biggest thing. And, you know, we often feel that there's not enough trust to ask for help, but trust is built with you asking for help. It's not built by you giving help. That's just humanity. But when you confide in a person and you ask them for help because you're hurting and they come through, that builds unparalleled trust, which makes sense to me now. Back then, it was like I didn't know what to do. So I asked for help and I got a lot of it. I can't think of a single person who I asked for help who wasn't able to help me. I just didn't ask that many, but it was enough for me. So for me, at a personal level, that's kind of how I rebounded from last year. Professionally, it was completely different because we did have a hard year professionally last year. And a lot of veteran agents struggled. Some of the newer agents, they actually succeeded even more.
Yeah.
Right? Because they were willing to adapt to the changes. What was working over the past decade didn't work in last year's market.
Right.
And people just they didn't have the ability to pivot, or they didn't have the guidance to pivot.
And yeah, I guess maybe some agents who have been in the game a long time, maybe, you know, they were, I don't want to say set in their ways, but like, you know, they were just in a certain habit of doing things. And so, you know, to actually pivot and change that is not an easy thing at all. Whereas, like, you know, so I don't know whether you know Brad Dornellis from Royal LePage Frank. He was on the podcast earlier this year, and he, in his before the completion of his 4th year, right, in 2024, he did 39 deals.
Amazing.
And he's a solo guy doing it by himself, like still, you know, kind of building himself up and establishing himself as a realtor. So you're totally right. Like, you know, it's those tough years are tough, but for, you know, for the right attitude and the right mindset, and also the right resources, there's a lot more to it than that, but it is an opportunity.
You need the right guidance. You need someone around you or multiple people around you who have seen an up and a down, so they understand what a shift in your strategy looks like. It takes a hard time to accept what was working isn't working anymore. A lot of lead generation now is reactive. You do marketing, You put out videos, you create web pages, you do SEO, you try to put answers out there for when consumers are searching. You're just kind of sitting and waiting for the leads and the calls to come in. It's very reactive. Last year required proactiveness. In addition to all of that, you had to make an effort to make the initial contact. And there were so many different pillars that you had to do, right? We used to say that when the market was good, like 2017 and after, if you worked on 2 pillars, that was enough to make an earning, right? And in real estate, you have massive taxes, so you have to sell a lot more to retain that little portion of it, right? People don't talk about that part, but you got to sell a lot more, right? And then last year's, you had to work so many different pillars, but you were only going to get paid 35% of what you would normally earn. And a lot of people weren't able to commit to that.
Right.
So I think that shift between reactive to proactive is really hard to make without the right guidance as well. And it was hard for me too. It took me months to figure out, okay, this isn't working, how much time I've invested into it, where else can I put my time, right? But it all came from our brokerage because you see someone who's succeeding, they share why they're succeeding, and you're like, okay, that works, I can probably tap into that.
How does that work with a cloud-based brokerage, the collaborative, sharing aspect? How is that, nurtured and actually cultivated?
All the meetings are done virtually and they do a really good job of how they do the meetings. But because these brokerages are going so quickly, there's more than 1,000 agents per cloud brokerage. So the agents that really get along, they form a community, right? And they start doing masterminds. So with a colleague, I was doing masterminds last year. And that was something I really wanted to do because I feel like it was lacking at my old brokerage. If masterminds were done, the material being shared was very old. It wasn't relatable. So because digital marketing is my strength, it's my forte, that's something people always wanted to learn. So I started hosting the masterminds and we would fill out a room. People would come in, have questions. I would share what's working for me, my colleagues, have case studies. So by the time they left our mastermind, they had a game plan of how to succeed for that pillar.
Right.
So we had to kind of create it on our own and it's just kind of formed.
Right. So these pillars of lead generation, I guess it is that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Break it down for me. What are they?
So pillars for lead gen is pretty much just an avenue of getting business. So really quickly, there's open houses, there's cold calling, there's door knocking. These are considered sweat equity, not check equity. Right. You have to get sweaty to get these pillars to work, but you don't have to put any money into it. It's free prospecting. And then you have Instagram marketing, then you have YouTube marketing, you have SEO marketing, and many other digital style marketings, which are check equity. So you have to put money to play ball in that. Right. And I think now because social media is so saturated, you have to put more money than usual to make that pillar work if it's not done organically. Like when I started doing social media marketing 5-7 years ago, people used to think I was a joker, I was silly. But I was one of the very few realtors doing it. So it worked for me. Now every other realtor does it. So you have to put more money to stand out. Right. And in fact, those pillars are less effective now. The old school prospecting methods, the sweat equity, those are proving to be more successful.
Really?
Surprisingly enough, yeah.
And you said that last year, because it was a tough year in the market, it was really, you really had to do all of them.
Yep.
Pardon me, in order to, kind of generate any reasonable amount of business. So what did you do then? Like, what was your, you spoke about you had to kind of figure out what you were spending your time and money on that wasn't working and then shift into other things. How did you create an approach where you were attacking all of those 5 or 6 pillars?
A lot of trial and error and still figuring it out. But one of the bigger changes I made is I stopped putting pressure on perfect content. And I also realized that the algorithm didn't care, and neither did the consumers, if that piece of content was perfect. So I didn't have to spend too much time editing that piece of content. So I started being more raw with my content, which worked fine. But that saved me hours in a day because I'm posting once a day, right? And then time blocking in my calendar where I'm making calls or I'm outside making contact, that was important. But I didn't come up with that on my own. I actually got that from my colleague, right? And the reason why sweat equity aspects of prospecting are very successful is because they're predictable. We can talk about today how if I knock 100 doors, I'll have 10 conversations. 10 conversation is 1 appointment. 10 appointments is guaranteed business right away.
Right.
So you can predict it. When it comes to social media, I can't give you a formula that today you make 10 videos, tomorrow you have yay many leads
Right.
or that many deals, right? So that's kind of like you're just throwing at the wall till something clicks. It does usually click, but I can't tell you how long it's going to take.
Yeah, and it's almost impossible to even track it and analyze it after the fact. You can look at the analytics, but like, I hear a lot of agents talking about how they don't really know exactly what the impact of their social media especially is. They know that it does make an impact. Sometimes it's anecdotally. Sometimes they think they get a client and they sign a listing and they think that it's come from a certain place. Like they got a phone call and it's because somebody saw their for sale sign in the street, right? And that's they tie it to that.
Sure.
Right? But then actually like a month in, they're having a conversation and they realize that person had been following them on social media for 2 years.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, actually, it was from social media.
Yeah.
So it makes it very difficult to calculate any kind of an accurate ROI for that. Whereas those more traditional sweat equity, that's a numbers game, and it's the predictability of it is I guess it's a lot easier to plan and set goals in that way.
So much so. And I've seen a lot of agents get success from it. It removes this conception that you need to have this magic pill, that you need to dress a certain way or be a certain way to survive in the business. Now it's as simple as 100 doors have to be knocked. Cool. That's simple enough. And then if you really want to motivate yourself, pay yourself $100 per door you knock. And the theory is that by the end of the 100 doors you have knocked, that $100 will be given back to you in the form of commission.
Right.
Because it works, because there's a formula for it, right? And I want your opinion on this. I'm finding that over the past year, maybe a little bit longer, Instagram is becoming less of a lead gen. It's more of a lead nurture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
100%. So, it's exactly what I said, like that situation where like a realtor gets a client from somewhere where they think was the actual source of that client, but it was because they were being nurtured on Instagram. They were seeing regular content from that person that was building that sense of trust, credibility, expertise. They were also kind of getting to get a sense of that realtor's personality. They have a similar energy, so I feel comfortable with that person. That's the whole nurturing thing. And it might be another, lead generation activity that seals the deal. It might be a cold call. It might be, it could be anything. But that nurturing happens on social media. I think that's a really, really big opportunity. And a lot of that is down to the fact that when you first make a contact with a potential client, when you go knocking on the doors or when you do that cold call or when that lead comes in from somewhere or other, it might be that they are your perfect client. They're just not ready to buy. So if you can then have them in your ecosystem, maybe you have an email newsletter, maybe you don't, but if they are then connected with you on social media, they are going to be seeing all of that. You're also going to be top of mind.
Yep.
So that when it does come around to that time to buy, they're going to choose you. And it's not that you generated the lead from social media.
Yep.
But it's that's people don't look at websites anymore. People don't, people are not going to kind of Google Moaeez Rehman real estate and look at your website. I don't know whether you even have a website. You probably do.
Not anymore, actually.
No, so there's no need. People go to social media.
Yeah.
Now, if you're looking, for a product or like a company, then maybe you'll check the website. But when it's an individual person, it's a personalized service like real estate.
Yep.
They're just going to go straight to your social media. So
100%.
And it's the same with my business. Like most of my business comes from, I was going to say most of it comes from social media, but actually that's not even true either. A lot of it comes from referrals.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes from networking, but it is the vast majority of it is in some way nurtured through social media. So, whenever we get a new client, we always try to make a point of asking, like, how did he find out about us? And as time has gone by, it is very rarely a simple answer. It's usually something really convoluted, like, well, you photographed a house that was in the same neighborhood that I had a list in like a couple of years ago, and you did a really good job. And so I've been following you on social media since then. And you were also, shooting an event at my brokerage. And then I was chatting with another agent, earlier in the year in my office, and she works with you, and she says that you do a good job. And then I saw this thing that you posted on social media last week where you're talking about like the benefits of drone photography. And then you just popped up on my feed today. So that's why I'm calling you. It's
Sure.
like all of these different things.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same for realtors as well. If you can figure out a way to get somebody just into your system so you can nurture them,
Yeah.
then they're going to make the decision on their own.
They are.
And I think that that's one of the things that is going to become more and more important, because people are savvy. People don't want to be sold to. And so, if you're going around knocking on doors, with a view to seal the deal, that's probably not going to work. Whereas if you go around knocking on doors to try to make a connection, to initiate a conversation,
Yeah.
and take it like softly and slowly, that's probably how you're going to succeed.
It's more friendly.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to close for their contact information to keep them part of a newsletter, you say, let's just stay connected on social.
Yeah.
And that's a lot easier to do. I have had deals and clients that are now my friends that I found through social that I met at events,
Right.
where I met them somewhere. The social interaction happened. If I followed them, maybe they followed me. I know I try to make an effort to follow everyone.
Right.
I'm genuinely curious about their life, right? But it also goes to show that there needs to be at least 7 touch points online before that person is familiar enough with you to make that contact. Your story just referenced it.
Right.
They know you shot that listing in the area, but they saw you everywhere.
Yeah.
And now you have to give yourself credit that you were so consistent on social that they were able to see you everywhere.
Yeah.
And consistency does matter. They reached out to you after the 7th touch online. Right. And I'm sure by the end of it, and this happens to me too, I rarely have to go through my marketing presentation. I have it with me and I want every client to go through it. Right. So I'm sure when they call you, you probably don't have to explain a lot of your services.
So here's a crazy one, right?
Tell me.
So and I'm not going to name this person. If they're watching or listening, they know who they are, right? I got a phone call from somebody who I'd never spoken to before, never met them in person, had no connection with them whatsoever, right? And they were looking for a new media company. They tried a couple of others, and there were certain things, like they said, like some of them have did a good job, but there were certain things that just weren't a good fit.
Right.
So I got the call, and we spoke through everything. And at the end of the call, the guy says, "Okay, well, I think this is all good." And it was coming up to the end of the year. Yeah, this all sounds really good. So, would it be okay if I pay for 10 of your premium packages, up front?
Wow.
This is over the phone. Never. The first time I'd spoken to him, never met him in person. But it's because of that consistency on social media, and it's because people are able to form a pretty complete opinion and impression of who you are and what you stand for. That was like $12,000.
He was already sold.
Yeah,
The call with you was merely a formality.
it was.
Right?
Yeah.
How beautiful is that?
And it is. And you know what's funny as well about social media, and I don't know whether you found this, but when I first, so I've been using social media ever since, I kind of started this business in real estate, but there was a certain point where I really, really doubled down on it.
I remember.
And it's been like 2.5 years now. I think we've been posting every single day without fail. And there was a point after maybe about like 9 months, maybe a year, where I started to have like a bit of a crisis, to be honest, thinking like, this is expensive. This is like, I'm pouring so much time and money into doing this. Is it actually working? And because it's so difficult to track, I started to really kind of wonder whether I'd done this stupid thing, and then I started to think about, like, have I even done this for myself, for my business, or have I done it for myself? Have I done this thing that's just put me in the center of attention because I like the sound of my own voice and I want people, I want to be like, look at me, look at me, look at me. Have I fooled myself into thinking that it was a good business investment where it's actually a purely ego thing?
Sure.
And I'm like, oh man, am I going to have to, like, maybe we're going to have to cut back. Maybe we're going to have to, like, make all these changes and stuff like that. And I was freaking out, actually, when I realized how much money I'd been spending and was going to have to spend to continue it.
Right.
Thankfully, I trusted the process.
Yeah.
And I actually, one of the things that happened is I caught myself, and I recognized, like, I heard the sound of my own internal voice saying, it's not working. I'm spending too much money on it. And I thought to myself, when I'm speaking to clients about us providing them social media content, one of the things I say is it's a long game. You have to be in it for the long game, and you can't expect to see, you can't expect to see immediate returns.
No.
And it's actually impossible to predict what returns you are going to get, period. And so, if you are comfortable with that and you want to seriously build a brand that is going to, at some point, really make your business thrive, then go all in. But, like, you have to be in it for the long game. And I heard myself giving myself that back advice, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I got to continue. And it was only a matter of time before those crazy things started to happen. Like, that's a particularly crazy thing. But, like, all the time, new clients come from social media. So, like, I've had an absolutely incredible return on investment of the social media in the end.
Yeah, and something to consider there is, and I've noticed this too, is a lot of professionals have attempted to make their mark in the media side of the real estate world over the past 5 years, similar timeline to yours. You've still kept the most market share because you were consistent.
Right.
Companies came, companies left. Whatever the reason is, they walked out the door. You remain consistent. I noticed it. Your clients have obviously noticed it, and it has worked. But that's merely a gamble you took on yourself. You had enough faith in it. There was no calculation for me or for anyone to tell you, John, 10 more videos.
Right, exactly.
You got this.
Yeah.
Right? But you have to believe it, and convincing yourself is the hardest part, and you were able to do that. Because you're right, when we do marketing for other businesses or clients, we do help them understand it takes at least 4 to 6 months, maybe even longer.
Before you even start to see any kind of return, Yeah,
especially on Instagram. TikTok, you can probably go viral here and there, but your quality of lead varies. YouTube is a little bit more predictable because it's search engine optimized based, so you can kind of see what people are searching for. You make content for that. Instagram is kind of like a free-for-all. So is TikTok, right? So it's so hard to figure out what your strategy is per platform.
Yeah.
But every platform requires a different strategy.
Yeah. So what's been your strategy?
I've been focusing on Instagram with more informative videos, more trendy type of content like dancing. I've danced a lot on camera over the past year. Never thought I would.
You're the stereotypical dancing realtor.
I might as well brand myself that, right? At first it was the guy with the flashy car, then the guy with the red car, the guy with the bright suits. I guess the next one's going to be the kid who dances all the time or the guy who dances all the time, right? So Instagram for me is post every other day and a combination of at least one trendy post a week, at least one.
Right.
And I've gotten to enjoy that. I enjoy creating trendy content. It doesn't feel like a chore to me anymore. There has to be at least 2 pieces of educational content, and I'm trying to do it in a manner where I'm not talking on screen. That works. I've just shown a lot of that to my clients already. So I'm doing like a property tour and adding my voiceover onto it. And then there needs to be a carousel post, which is usually some sort of brand shooting or some sort of organic photo that I've had my friends take of me when we're outside, right? And in TikTok, I just try to be raw. If I have a bad deal, someone's upset me, a deal has gone south, I'll share that experience on TikTok. People love that. Right? The same Instagram content doesn't work well for me on TikTok. And in YouTube, I'm very peculiar for the content I create. I spend time studying the terms that are being searched, how many times, and what the competition value is. And when I find certain terms that consumers are searching for that to me is worthwhile, I'll make that content. I won't just kind of shoot at it. I'll be very careful of what I do on that aspect.
Okay. So you've got a very, very systematic way of approaching the different platforms and the different types of content. And that's really, really smart for a couple of different reasons. One is because it's a more intentional strategy. But the other one is that it means that you know what you're doing, right? One of the biggest things that I think, not just realtors, like anybody trying to be consistent on social media, if they don't have, 2 educational pieces of content, one trendy one, and then whatever you're doing for the other platform, if it's just a case of, I just need to post a lot, what do I post about? Like
Sure.
it's so much more difficult to continually come up with ideas.
Yeah.
We've got a content strategy for our own business, and I actually am embarrassed to say I don't even know what it is right now because we've changed it a couple of times, and I delegate that to my team, and I'll obviously participate, and I'll kind of give them what they need to execute it. But like it's something like two talking head like informational videos. One where I'm sharing a story about something that has taken place that kind of demonstrates our value, and then like maybe a couple of like I'm not sure exactly what the structure is right now.
Yeah.
But it's intentional, and it means that we can just kind of keep it going every week.
It's so much better that way. And to an extent, posting for the sake of posting is good too, but that's phase 1. Right? And now that you understand from our podcast that Instagram is not going to generate leads, is going to nurture it, then you have to shift your content to attract new people to your page.
Right.
Just posting daily, your current consumers see it. They know you're a realtor. That's good. But that's phase 1. Phase 2 is to kind of modify that. But I'm only also going to recommend that you go down that pillar if you're ready to invest that much time into it.
And money as well, because
so much.
If you're able to do all of the content creation yourself, then like that's a lot of time, and time is money. But then also you got to do some kind of paid ads to really get out to a broader network of your ideal clients. And one of the reasons why I chose my words very carefully there is that what we've tried to do is to be very, very consistent and put out content that connects directly with our target audience, which is it's a certain type of realtor, right? Who, is looking for not just like good quality photos and videos, but they're looking for a company that's going to take care of everything. That the whole process is going to be completely straightforward and seamless. That every single part of it is set up for that. So, whether it's an established team or like a top producing agent, that's who we directed at. And for those who are already in our network, they are seeing our regular content. And then we don't spend a ton of money, but like a little bit of money on paid ads to then connect that content with other people who, we want to bring into our network.
Yep.
But it's people who are in that same demographic. It's that same type of client.
Yeah.
Like I'm not super interested in like going viral or like, kind of getting hundreds of thousands of views because they're probably not going to be my ideal clients. They might not even be in this geographic area.
Sure.
Right. But paid ads is the way that I've found that I can bring more predictability into how many new people are coming into our network and then into our business. In fact, I've kind of got that down to a little bit of a science now, and it might be because of the foundation that we have and the awareness that we have. But if I run a paid ad on Instagram and I spend about $200 or $300 on it, I'll get 2 clients out of it. And that's pretty much every time. Now, obviously, I'm not a realtor, so 2 clients is for me is not. If those clients are going to invest anywhere between $600 and $1,000 or maybe more, but they then become regular clients, so it's like once or twice a month over the course of the year, that $200 or $300.
Yep.
It's crazy. So, I don't know whether you've got to the point where you can have that kind of predictable with real estate. Yeah.
No, but I do want to say you're not just running ads. You're customizing your ads.
Yeah.
You're making it work for you, but you understand the ads. You know the difference between pressing the boost icon and creating a custom audience. You know the difference between just running an ad and targeting down interests.
Well, you know what I actually think is even more important than any of that?
Yeah.
Is that our content is targeted, right? So again, this this particular agent profile who is our ideal client, the vast majority of our content in general, but certainly the content that we do run ads on, it calls them out for who they are. Mm-hmm. It identifies a very specific and tangible problem that they are facing, right? And it demonstrates how we are in a position to help them solve that problem.
Yep.
And then it gives them a call to action so that they can solve it.
Yep.
Right. And it's funny. Sometimes I explain that to people, and they're like, "Wow, that's so smart, and that's so innovative." I'm like, "It's not. It's the fundamentals of sales and marketing."
Which is easy to you, but it's so much for someone that's new to social media.
Right.
As you're saying it to me, I'm like, yeah, I'm with you. But someone who's new to social media, hook, how long should it be?
Right.
Visual hook, verbal hook, and how should it be? What should my body be? What should my CTA be?
Yeah.
What CTA actually converts? How do I do it? And the CTAs change. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Right?
It is a lot. Yeah. But I've figured out, because it's totally not being me. It's like I said, I don't have a huge amount to do with that anymore. But like we've figured out a way to target the content.
Sure.
So the targeting of the ads and stuff like that adds to it.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's that the content and the message in the content and the way that it's delivered is intended to speak directly to that person who is a top producing realtor in Durham region or Northumberland. It's like, those are the people that we want. Now, it's much easier for me because my target client is a realtor.
Sure.
Realtors are very, very easy to find. Whereas your target client as a realtor is somebody who is a particular type of buyer or seller who could be anywhere. How do you actually find them?
You don't. You cover all the pillars.
Right.
Hence why. So when we do coaching, social media is considered to be one pillar. Okay, I don't believe that. Social media in itself has 3 or 4 pillars. That's like a whole segment, right? YouTube in itself can be dominated, but that requires its own strategy. Same with TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and LinkedIn. So I think we're beginning to create the awareness for it. But we're also beginning to create the awareness that that is not the next shiny object anymore, right? Over the past 5 years, social media, Instagram. And that's where I pretty much did get the best layers of my success, was through social media. Right. And even if it wasn't direct consumers, a lot of realtor connections I formed, which were favoring me when I was either submitting my client's offer or they brought an offer to my listing. Even today, before I walked in, a realtor called me and he said, "Hey, I got your offer. You likely don't know who I am. I follow you. We have 4 offers. We feel more comfortable working with a local professional. Just tell me a little bit more about your clients."
Wow.
I just got a free opportunity to prove to that seller why my client deserves to buy their home.
Right.
Because of my social media.
And I would imagine that most buyers would have zero concept that would even be a factor, right? But the fact that you're able to provide that additional advantage to your buyers, that's huge, man.
It's a bonus. So when I spoke to my clients, they're like, "This could happen." And I was like, "It doesn't happen, but it's worked in our favor.
Right.
Let's take advantage of it."
Wow.
Right? And this happens probably every second or third deal that I do now. And that to me has paid for my social media work and then some. But I enjoy social media too. I wake up, I plan social media. I'm on the toilet, I'm thinking social media. As I'm watching Netflix, I'm typing out captions and editing videos.
I'm going to let you know a little secret here.
Yeah, I'm crazy.
I hate social media. and you know, most, if I just said that like randomly, like people would be like, "What the hell? You are all over my social media. I see you every day. How could you even say that?" But I hate it, man. I don't. It is not my comfortable place to to actually spend my time, and part of it is because I kind of feel like I don't know. I'm very, very prone to addiction.
Sure.
Right. I get addicted to anything. Like I was addicted to drugs as a teenager. I was addicted to work as a kind of a younger guy. I get addicted to everything. Right. And I just get addicted. Maybe that's why I hate it. Right.
I think addiction probably is a more negative word for it. to an extent, it could be true as well. I think you're also very passionate about things.
I was also very passionate about
So
drugs when I was a teenager, but that didn't really go very well for me.
I was focusing that comment towards your business side. I think you're very passionate to the point that once you go all in, you really do go all in.
Yeah, that's true.
And even though we talked about doing the podcast, it was half-assed, but now that you've gone all in, you've gone freaking all in, bro. You have one of the nicest setups I've ever fucking seen, right? So you are passionate, and I can't let you discredit that. I need to remind you.
I can't do anything
badass.
half-assed. It doesn't work for me.
I like that. Okay, so tell me something. What do you say? I want to drop some nuggets for anyone who wants to learn social media, because I think you and I together in this podcast, we have so much to share that people can utilize, right? So what do you say to someone who wants to get started on social media? They understand how hard it is, but they still want to do it, but they're camera shy.
So what the best piece of advice I would give to them is record 50 videos of yourself speaking to the camera. And you don't have to post any of them. You can delete all of them. But if you record 50 of them, right, and you commit to doing that, and you get over your insecurities and whatever else, and you do that by saying that you don't ever have to post any of them.
Yeah.
If you look at the first one, and then you look at the 50th one, you'll see such a massive improvement that hopefully that will then give you some confidence to go to the next step. What would your advice be?
That's gold, actually. I never thought about it that way. My advice is people focus on what you're sharing. They don't care about how you look. And one of the biggest mindset shifts for me was going on camera is fucking hard. So accept it as that and learn to prime yourself to go on camera. So now I try to prime myself before I come to any sort of point where I'm in front of a camera, to the point where I'm like just naturally to it. But when I see a camera lens, instead of thinking that I'm on camera, my mindset shift is I'm talking to my ideal consumer.
Right.
So then when I do talk about the script that I have in mind or the message that I want to share, I deliver it in a manner where I'm having a conversation with my consumer.
Right.
And then it comes off natural. And a lot of people are scared to go on camera because, for one, they don't like how they look, how they sound, but they're also worried about the confidence to bring on screen.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of confidence when you talk to your clients in person. So just pretend as if the camera is that.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've actually had to remind myself of and convince myself of is that in terms of like appearance and stuff like that, nobody's really paying that much attention to you, and actually to think that they are, it's kind of a bit vain.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, it's like I've got this zit on my bottom lip, and I was looking in the mirror this morning, and I'm like, oh my goodness, am I going to have to cancel these podcasts because I've got this? It's going to be awful. People are going to, and I'm like, people are not going to friggin' even notice it, let alone like, yeah. So
I didn't notice it. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good advice, man. Another thing that actually worked really, really well for me when I was starting to try to get like some kind of consistency on social media, especially talking to the camera. In fact, actually, this is how I first built the habit. I would go to do a job, and then when I get back in my car, I had this this kind of mental trigger go off that. Before I actually put the keys in the ignition and drive away, I've got to ask myself, did anything just happen that would make an interesting social media video? And sometimes the answer was no, but most of the time, actually, the answer was yes.
So that's where those car videos came from.
The car videos. And actually, people used to say to me that when I first started to get recognized, people used to say, I love those videos you do in your car. And it's like, being in the car was not really any kind of intentional, kind of theme.
Yep.
Or whatever. But it's because I knew, and this is something that I would hope realtors can take some inspiration from. There are things that you do every single day that would really do a great job of demonstrating the value that you provide to clients if you make a video about it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I ask realtors like, oh, tell me some things that have happened where you've really helped a client and you've overcome a problem or whatever, and they can't think of it.
It's normal to them.
It's normal to them. They do it every day, but that's the point. They do it every day. There was one agent I was trying to help with, and he couldn't think of anything. And I was like, okay, when is the last time you were with a client? And he goes, yesterday. I said, okay, like what happened with that client? And they were like, this is actually a really interesting one. He said, so I was helping a buyer, And we were looking at a particular property, but like the price was just too high. It was the perfect home. It was in the perfect location. But I don't know whether he'd spoken to the listing agent or whatever, but he's like, you can't pay that. Like, you would be overpaying. So we're going to have to, just bite the bullet and move on.
Yep.
Right. And I'm like, that has so many valuable elements to it, right? You've actually got a video, you've got a story there that demonstrates your value that you're providing to a buyer by guiding them away from what would have been a bad investment, which would have been an easy way for you to just close the deal and get your commission check, right? But what you're also highlighting is the fact that whoever was the agent representing this seller has not priced the home correctly, right? And so you can talk about like the dangers of that and how, you have had firsthand experience of the disadvantage that seller was at because of the way that they, had been treated by this agent. And so that's a perfect story. You can really, really demonstrate your value. And that was like literally the last thing that had happened.
That's
so
insane.
Like every single day, there will be things that you can speak to that show what people need to hear so that they go, okay, yeah, this is a guy who I want to sell my house. This is a guy who is an expert. He's honest. He's caring. He's compassionate. He's got like the type of personality that I can feel comfortable with. You don't have to become some master presenter. You don't have to create like really intricate or clever or complicated scripts. In fact, it's actually much better. You just speak about what it is that you're up to. And the right people will resonate with that. And that's where that's where you'll get that return.
It's crazy how you can do all of those things through social media. And there's a recent saying, it was more applicable to TikTok. Don't create, document.
Right. Yeah.
Just document your day, share your experiences, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Not only will you be fine, and especially now, because people are just more than ever looking for authenticity. They're looking to go behind the scenes, beyond the, pull back the curtain, like beyond the facade, however you want to say it. People don't want that, kind of polished look all the time.
They really don't.
I think in certain professions, it's good to have, certain content that is at a higher level that kind of shows that you are the real deal. But if that's all you show, I don't think that's good. I think people want to know who you really are.
Yeah. My most viral videos that got me the most like negative comments, but got me the most engagement is where I'm not wearing a suit. I don't have a script prepared.
Right.
A thought came to me. I recorded it. I shared it out in the wild, if you will. And that's it. And the ones that I've spent hundreds of dollars on editing, zero traction. Right? This is just to kind of further motivate you that being on social media and just creating content to get the ball rolling should not be complicated.
No.
And we're trying our best to uncomplicate it for you, right? Just document your day, make simple videos. It doesn't have to be high end, right? All the people that are coming to my mastermind that want to do social media, if they don't have enough time or they're not as geeky as me, I ask them to pick a pillar. Either all you do is put trending content, and you convert through your stories on Instagram. Or you just do talking on camera videos, which will not be the best, but that's something you can focus on.
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
Better than nothing. Or just do property tours.
Right.
And then I'm helping them understand the batch creation of it. So instead of going out once a day, recording, editing, posting, you do it on a Sunday. You edit that night, and you're good to go for the week. That's it. You don't have to worry about social media at all. And if you just do property tours, you're going to become that guy or gal that's always looking at the right homes.
Right.
And that's how simple as it can be.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to go on a property tour with that guy, so therefore he's going to become my buying agent.
Yeah, could very well be. Or the property you just toured, that's what I'm looking for.
Right.
This guy or gal showed it. They probably have more for me. Let me reach out to them.
Yeah.
Something
that's
that simple works too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. One last thing I'll say as well is that, even going back to that original suggestion I made about making 50 videos, right? The first videos you make will be bad.
Right.
It's highly unlikely that they won't be really bad.
Sure.
It's just a phase that you've got to go through while you are, becoming more comfortable, finding your voice, and it's an inevitable part of the process. But here's the thing. Anything that you might feel insecure about, I can't put that out there because it's embarrassing, right? I'm not, I fumbled my words, or, I don't look as perfect as I would. I can tell you for sure that very few people are even going to see it.
Yeah.
Right? And the people that do see it are not going to be scrutinizing you at all, right? Let alone judging it in the way that you're judging it.
They find it relatable.
Yeah. So just put it out there, even if you think it's bad, because it'll just get better and better and better. And the fact that it's bad, it's not going to put you at a disadvantage.
Sure.
Because people are going to find it relatable anyway.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess what I'm saying is just do it.
Just do it. Just do it. Don't complicate it.
Yeah.
I will intentionally post a video in which I have maybe mispronounced a word.
Right.
Or I'll correct it. I may not do like filler words like I might try to cut that out, but I'll do it on purpose knowing that people find it more relatable.
Right.
It's less polished. It's less intimidating.
And if someone pokes fun at you or whatever in the comments, then that's just extra engagement.
Bro, I fucking love it. I love it. I read these comments and
Oh,
I'm like, the creativity.
I saw you roasting. Your videos of was that what you called it? Like roasting Moise or something like that? Or
Was it the pictures are you looking at?
no, I think. I thought you'd made a video where
Last
you were
year I
reading
did.
out negative comments about yourself.
Last year, one of my posts went viral. And
Right.
the reason why it went viral is because I chose an opinion to share.
Right.
And it was a very aggressive opinion. And the ones who disagreed with it trashed me.
Right.
And I liked it because for me now it's entertaining. Like it doesn't bring me down. After a couple negative comments, you just get used to it.
Yeah.
And I'm reading this and I'm actually analyzing like, oh, that's how they feel. So more consumers must feel this way. Okay, I can fix that. I
Right.
can fix that. I didn't even think of it as fully getting trashed, but the creativity on these, John,
Right.
was just hilarious. Like they were just bashing you for the sake of bashing you. It was so entertaining. So I figured
Right.
I'll make a video out of it. And people enjoyed it.
Because it's
People enjoyed it.
relatable. It's
Yeah.
you're not taking yourself too seriously, and you're not allowing that negativity to bring you down. You're just kind of laughing it
Bro,
off.
I got a bright red suit on. I am not taking myself seriously. And that's not what I'm concerned with.
Well, this has been a fantastic conversation, man, and I'm glad that we finally got to sit down and do this. I'm glad that we did it unplanned as well, with no outline or script or like questions or whatever, because it's been great hearing more about your journey and then getting into it about social media and marketing. And so, thanks for joining me, man.
Dude, thanks for having me. I know you told me to keep it real, so I didn't bring my tie today, so I could be a more vulnerable version of myself. And I think everything we spoke about today, I had no idea we were going to dive into it, but I'm okay with it because whatever we shared is going to help somebody.
Yeah.
It's going to help either motivate them. It's going to be a learning curve for them. And I have no problem sharing what works for me, what doesn't work for me with others, because that's the type of help I didn't get. So I'm going to pass it on, whether it's personal or professional.
Yeah, and if anything that we've said invites, any kind of a troll type comments, then we'll just make a roasting video together.
Yeah, let's see who can troll me the best for my suit color choice today.
Yeah.
And let's see who's got the best one for that. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, well, we'll find him in the comments.
Yeah, we will.
All right, cheers, man.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks for having me.